Sinn Féin are very populist.
I have to say that, you know, when I hear Sinn Féin going on about this, it really makes me smile.
Yeah, what amused me is the ambivalence of Sinn Féin.
Well, I think Matt is saying that Europe is driving the austerity agenda.
Coming down here crying about austerity.
Okay, Lorraine.
Matt seems to think that he'll have some sort of degree of influence if he's elected to the European Parliament.
Matt is trying to wrap the austerity flag round him.
That is what really Matt is talking about, just to pull everything.
Okay.
Why would you?
Matt Carthy.
The problem with water charges is that they're not a charge for water. They're another tax, they're another charge. And I think what the big difficulty that many of our politicians have is that they don't get that people can't pay. The people are already in massive difficulties. The property tax has taken money out of their pockets, countless stealth charges. We're talking about the system letting people down. Our MEPs are part of the system. Our MEPs have supported an austerity agenda at a European level that has caused so much hardship and devastation, that has left so many of our villages devoid of an entire generation, and has been the root cause, in many cases, of the absolute devastation that has been caused to too many families, people who are absolutely at their wits' end, and they're wondering, what are these people doing, whether they be in the Dáil or in Europe? How can they not understand what we're going through?
Matt Carthy, with respect, Sinn Féin haven't been in government in the Republic, so a lot of people will say you're not in the position of having to come up with realistic policies. You can just shout populist slogans, whatever is popular, without necessarily being realistic.
One of the reasons why I think more and more people are turning to Sinn Féin is because we actually put forward alternatives, costed alternatives. Every single year we produce a pre-budget submission that's actually costed, that explains how we can make the savings that are necessary without actually burdening families who cannot take any more. But more importantly than that, since the very outset of this crisis, what Sinn Féin have done is prepare plans and submit plans to the government which show how you can actually inject stimulus packages into each community, which will actually revitalise local communities, because water charges and property taxes don't just hit the pockets of the families who are finding it difficult to make by. They also mean that that's less money going into local shops, local butchers, local newsagents, local charities are finding it more and more difficult to get the support that they need.
Let's somebody else in. Pat the Cope, what do you say to that?
Ordinary families didn't have to be crucified. I have Sinn Féin's pre-budget submission here. Have a read of it. Unfortunately, our political opponents don't. They present charges against Sinn Féin. We actually provided your government with alternatives to show how the savings that you wanted to make could be made, but crucially,
there would actually... There's no fairy tale economics, Matt. We know the hypocrisy that we get from Sinn Féin.
Sorry, if you talk over each other, we won't hear anything. But Lorraine,
it's very hard to listen to
Lorraine,
hypocrisy.
could I ask you a question, if you don't mind?
Absolutely.
Thank you for kind of you. Fine Gael, these are significant achievements outlined there by Jim Higgins, aren't they?
The reality hasn't changed for too many families. The burden of bank debt that is at the crux of the problems that we're now facing is no closer to being resolved. In real terms, what should happen and what we should all be demanding, and those of us who are elected as MEPs on Friday should be demanding, is that this is considered a priority, and that Ireland won't sign up to any banking union, that we won't sign up to any further treaty change unless and until such stage.
As we voted on the 15th of April, we voted.
I know you did, and you shouldn't have done. You shouldn't have.
Can we let Matt finish his point?
Negotiations are certainly a work in progress. But if you give with your left hand on every single time a new development takes place at a European level, then you're never going to have the strength at a European level, particularly when you're dealing with negotiations, to draw down the bank debt. Yes, Fianna Fáil handed over billions. So did this government in bank debt. And unfortunately, they were allowed themselves, because it's not just that Europe bullied Ireland, as is now being established almost as fact, but it's that we, through our government and our representatives in the European Parliament, allowed ourselves to be bullied.
Okay, well, let me put that point to Maria.
Never once, Councillor Carthy, in any debate, accepted the commitment that has been made to Ireland. You have never once said...
Where is it? Where is it in real terms?
You have never once...
Well, in terms of rates in the north, and as we know, it's a British system. But in the north, look what you get for your €900. You get your water. It covers your property tax. It covers your refuge collection. It covers your school books for your children from first class right through until you've done the equivalent of the Leaving Cert. It covers your healthcare costs. Now, I'm a father of 4 children. If I was able to get all of those things covered by €900 a year in this state, I'd be a lot happier. But what we want to do...
Sounds great to be under British rule, then, doesn't it?
Certainly not, because it's Sinn Féin in the executive that ensured that there would be no additional water charges. And group water schemes, certainly group water schemes do important work. But make no mistake about it, group water schemes are subsidised by this state within the next number of months. Let us hear this story, that it's unfair to subsidise rural group water scheme while urban dwellers are paying for it. This isn't about charging for water, as I said. This is another tax on people who can't afford another tax, and it's another retraction of local economies, because €240 multiplied by a town of 5,000 households means that local shops will go out of business. And we're dealing with counties that have the highest unemployment rate, the highest immigration rate, and not by accident the lowest investment rate by successive governments.
What are your solutions to that? What are the solutions?
Invest in our communities, create the jobs that allow our young people to stay in their own communities and in their jobs.
Sorry, can I let somebody else in? Lorraine, how do you feel about standing over what sounds to most people?
There is so much work to be done, and there is a cosy consensus among our sitting MEPs. It goes without saying, in my view, and to too many people. We talk about the Globalisation Fund. The Globalisation Fund was supposed to support unemployed workers, for example, people who lost their jobs as a result of the collapse in the construction industry. 40% of that was sent back. Somebody was asleep at the wheel. Somebody didn't.
The people who were asleep at the wheel
address the issues that needed addressing. Give the support to our communities that needed them.
I'm afraid our time is up. I'm afraid our time is up, but thanks to all of you for joining us. And coming up after the break,